All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wake the Fuck Up podcast. My name is Uncle E, Mr. E, Major Hemorrhoid, or just whatever you want to call me. I don't care. I just woke up myself about 15 minutes ago. I've got my coffee, and, yeah, whoopee. So what do we have for you today? Well, Keir Starmer, the PM of the UK totalitarian network, has made it clear in words that the UK has free speech. Right. And it's always had free speech. It's always going to have free speech and blah and blah and blah. Yet they're having a real problem tolerating free speech right now. And a lot of British people who are real sick of the shit that they've got going on are looking at the First Amendment going, why can't we have that too? So I wanted to discuss the First Amendment from the context of a United States citizen, and I wanted to go through it. So, I also want to say that I have not had any weed for 3 days. Okay? I'm going to start with this first because I think it's kind of important. I haven't had any weed in 3 days. Now, as I did the PSA the other day, yeah, I wasn't too happy with myself because, you know, it's one thing to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. It's another to look at the videotape and hold yourself accountable. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did. And for the last 3 days, I have felt great. My mind has been out of a fog. I know yesterday being day number 2, it was like seeing an old version of me come to life, come back to life. I smoke weed to keep myself numb from everybody's bullshit, including my own, and to have 3 days of sobriety is kind of refreshing. And I think that's kind of the reason why I'm doing this, is because this is a plan I had a long time ago to start going through the Constitution of the United States and kind of discuss how things relate today. Should be entertaining, I hope. But again, so I'm on the website Constitution Annotated, for those of you who are wondering, and this is where I am going to read the First Amendment. Now, here we go. The First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay. Did you get all that? Did you get all that? I hope you did, because we're going to run through it one more time. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. This is essentially the foundational law that should not be discounted. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Essentially saying any religion cannot be the state religion. Everybody gets to exercise their religious beliefs in their own way. I don't like theocracy. I am an atheist, but I'm not one of those religion-hating atheists who think that a God should not be allowed in society. You get to practice what you want. As long as you're not harming somebody else. I couldn't give a shit. If you like sacrificing sheep to the god of cowboy midnight barnyard experiments, I don't care. It's not my business. That's not to say that I don't have a problem with people sacrificing things. But there's a number of religions out there that do sacrifice animals, whatever. People, I'm not really for that. I don't think people should be sacrificed unless they're in dire need of a post-birth abortion. Now, am I advocating for a purge? Hell no. Good people have a tendency to not want to be violent. Me personally, I do think people should be punched in the mouth for a lot of the stupid shit that they do and say. I have been subject to a lot of vicious shit throughout life, and I know that if we were to, say, start putting people in prison for hurting people's feelings, there'd be a whole lot of people in prison. In fact, this entire country would be a prison state because humans suck. Humans gossip, humans talk shit, and humans have problems being kind, courteous, and considerate. One of the things I'll paraphrase because, my grandmother used to tell me that if you ain't got nothing nice to say that's helpful or informative, you should be quiet. You should keep your mouth shut. Because if you've got endless negativity and pessimism, you don't really need to tell people that you're a negative, pessimistic asshole. You don't need to let them know. You can shut the fuck up. And again, I say helpful, useful information needs to be shared. It'd be like knowing a piece of shit who's going to fuck everybody over, who can't hang on to a job, who's endlessly drunk, and not telling people about it. Because you don't want others to have that person inflicted on others. They should know so that way they can make an informed decision. Now, the other part of the establishment of religion is the prohibiting the free exercise thereof, which means that you, Congress, government, should not be allowed to prohibit the exercise of your religion. Again, if you're willing to sacrifice chickens, or you're willing to, wear a hijab, or anything else that is a part of your religion, the government cannot ban it. Again, if you're sacrificing people, it's a reasonable stoppage, But as far as it goes, if you believe that the sun god is going to come down and give you a larger penis, you're allowed to believe that. And you're allowed to pray to that God, and no one should be able to stop you. Yeah. I could use a few prayers, but not a whole lot. So, let's continue. Or abridging, and this is, okay, how it relates to this country. How much animosity is there towards religion in this country? Now, you can talk shit about Christians as much as you want. It happens. But if you talk shit about Islam, they believe they have the right, some of them, more than others, believe that they should be able to kill you for talking shit about their religion. Now, obviously, murder is not allowed. Period. You're not allowed to kill somebody because you don't like what their religion is. So there's your limitation. But you don't see Christians lined up to kill people, except the fundamentalists at maybe abortion clinics. Do I support that? Hell no. Do I support abortion? I don't agree with it. I definitely don't like abortion. And I don't like the attitude around it. But do I want to make it illegal? No, that cat's been out of the bag for way too long. And there are way too many people who should not be having children. I know one in particular that person should have never fucking had children. Deadbeat, worthless, can't do shit. And as far as I'm concerned, those kids are going to have a horrible fucking life because of it. Never stick your dick in crazy. It's one of the lines that I like to use. Well, never open up your pussy to crazy either. Men and women can suck. They're all not sugar and spice and everything nice. So, again, people have the freedom to do what they want. Unfortunately, many times if you lack a moral society or a society that lacks common sense, you're going to have problems going down the road. But anyway, back to this shit. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, you're not allowed to kill people, but you're allowed to do anything else, for the most part. Or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press. Okay, so let's check this one, because this one has been violated more often than not. Anybody heard of the FCC, Federal Communications Commission? Essentially what they do is they monitor the words you use on television and radio within certain extents, like it has to be terrestrial based. If it goes through a satellite or is on cable, they really can't say shit. But they, their landlines had a rule that you could not swear. You couldn't say fuck, you couldn't say shit, you couldn't say asshole, you couldn't say seminiferous tubloidal buttnoid. You probably could say that. But the FCC is obviously abridging the freedom of speech over the airwaves. And this has been going on for ever. Should the FCC be abolished? Well, the speech codes should. You should be able to say whatever you need on television. The thing is, like any good corporation trying to generate clicks and eyes turning their way, would overuse that privilege until it was beaten to death like a dead horse. That, and you have all the Karens out there who want to protect everybody and everything from themselves, or protect people from ideas that might challenge narratives that they personally believe in. I love Karens. Is the male version called Kevin? Because I knew Kevin, and Kevin was cool. So, no. Kevin is not a Karen. At least the Kevin I knew. Kevin was cool. Or of the press. Now again, you're not allowed to censor the press. Now, I think a lot of people create contrived notions of how to go around stuff like this. We can have private corporations censor themselves at the behest of government. And because it's not Congress trying to do these things, it's okay. That's a load of bullshit. Okay? Freedom of speech is a fundamental necessity. And here's why. Here's why. If you have a thought that needs to be said, you're not sure if it's stupid or not, you're not sure if it's racist or not, you're not sure it's any fucking qualifier, you should be able to say what you need to say. Okay? If you got problems with friends, family, whatever, if you got problems with the government, political parties, you have the right, and you should have the right, to say what you believe. If you don't like transgenderism, you should be able to say what you want to say without fear of government reprisal. And that's part of the problem in the UK. Look, for those of you who love the idea of speech codes, are you going to love them when they're applied to you? I'm dead serious on that one, because all of these people who always call for legislation or anything else to limit people's ability to speak their minds, I'm against. I'm against it. I am. It's like, I don't like some of the shit that comes out of people's mouths. Some of it's horrifying. Some of it's depressing. Some of it's absolutely ridiculous. Do I support speech codes? Hell no. Listen, I've had horrible shit said about me my entire life, okay? Coming from people who have the intelligence of a fucking gnat. Do I want to put them all in jail? No. It's not going to help. Because then we create a prison state, and that's unacceptable. Oh, yeah, I'm waking up now. And the press should have the right and ability to say everything. You know, the press is supposed to be there to inform us of the shitty things that our government and our society are doing so we can judge for ourselves. The problem with the press is that it's almost entirely leftist. It's almost entirely leftist. You know, there's one conservative mainstream network, and it has problems with freedom of speech as well. It's one of the reasons why I hate both sides, left and right, because neither one of them really truly believes in free speech. They believe in their free speech. Other people's free speech, not so much. Sorry. You want me to provide examples, all you have to do is pull up the fucking internet and you can find them. Okay? Left, right, both have problems. Okay? People support Palestine, good for them. They're allowed to do that. If they support Israel, good for them. They can do that. But trying to censor one side over the other, No can do. You're not allowed to do that. Shouldn't be happening, but you're going to do it anyway. It is what it is, right? The price of peace is eternal vigilance. Therefore, you must stand against people who want to have a totalitarian and tyrannical bent. Hence the reason why you need freedom of speech. Because the moment we start censoring people to the benefit of those that are being criticized, guess what happens? Y'all saw Chernobyl, right? Now, I've been watching clips for the last 6 months. And all of the things that get said about communism and socialism were on display. Corruption, lies, unaccountability, meaning no one's being held accountable except for the truth sayers, and they're usually being disappeared or executed, isolated, whatever. So yeah. Hey, guess what? A nuclear reactor blew up. Oh, don't worry, it's no big deal. We're getting a shit ton of radiation all over the planet. That's no big deal. It's just a one-time accident. Don't worry about it, kids. Well, come on. You really need... Hey, I told you to shut up. If you don't shut up about our fucking problems, we're going to have something bad happen to you. And that's not just necessarily common. That's human fucking nature. Most people do not like accountability. So if you have no ability to speak freely, you're never going to be able to hold anyone accountable for anything that they're doing. And the more people get pissed off about that accountability, the more tyrannical they are. Or they will become. Because if they get an ounce of power, they're going to run with it. And they'll find ways to silence you. Sorry. Let's see, what else? I mean, if you go back to Lincoln in the Civil War days, there were people being deported for speaking out. There was censorship. And it was all done under the aim of keeping the country together. Or keeping the Union together. But again, you go back in history, not even go back in history, you just look at today, and you can see a whole lot of people who hate freedom of speech because they've been conditioned to hate being offended and think it's an egregious action against them. It's not. If you can't handle other people's opinions and you want to silence those opinions, you're just a tyrant. You're just a totalitarian dictator in waiting. Sorry if you don't like that, but it is the truth. Anyway, keep going. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. Okay. Notice in that, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. If you stand in a fucking roadway, you should expect to get ran the fuck over. If you sit down in front of a bunch of cars, you're being peaceable, but you're not, too. You're creating difficulty and for various things. Now, do I like the idea of running people over in the road? Hell no. Because murder is wrong unless it's done in self-defense or the protection of your property. These are my ideas. These are my thoughts. These are some of my beliefs. And I will state them. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. Now, anytime a Monday holiday or a call to protest happens on either side of the parties, of the uniparty As far as I'm concerned, I don't like Republicans or Democrats because both sides can be stupid. And it seems like the leadership of both parties act more like a married couple that ends up fucking everybody else but each other. You know, the debate in the morning and the afternoon, and then go have drinks with each other in the evening after everything is done. How about all the campaign donors that play both sides? The right to protest is a necessary thing because, again, you have to hold your government accountable for the stupid shit that they do. Left gets it right sometimes, the right gets it right sometimes. Neither side is 100% right. Quit believing that you're perfect. You're not. You make bad decisions, both sides. You, as an individual, make bad decisions at times. Quit pretending that you know everything or that you think you can determine it all. I am not perfect. I have never been perfect. I am wrong sometimes. And when I am, I look at myself in the mirror and say, I am human. I am not perfect. I never will be. Which means if I'm wrong about something, I need to be told. If I'm not told, I probably would go through life thinking I know what I'm talking about when in reality I don't. What I'm doing is right. Helps to look in a mirror to realize that you're a fuck up too. You can be a fuck up. And you probably will fuck up. But that's beside the point. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. If you're outside holding placards, no problems. If you're beating the shit out of each other, that's a problem. Protest. Yes. Beat the shit out of each other during your protests? No. No. Peaceably to assemble. That means no looting and pillaging when you're protesting. You have no right to break into a building and steal a bunch of shit because there's a protest going on and you need to mask your nefarious activities. No. Everybody who breaks into a store to loot under the guise of a protest should be in prison. Period. Again, peaceably, not violently. Get that fucking through your head. Last little bit. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay. This is another one of those you need to be able to have a partnership with your government. If your government looks down on you and thinks, oh, you shitty little plebeian, you fucking proletariat horde, you need to come to grips with our superiority. If that is the way your government looks at you, and ours does, in a lot of different ways, I've met elitists. People whose nose goes so fast and so far into the fucking air when they encounter an intelligent, informed, and educated, enlightened peon. It says land speed records, airspeed records. Watching that nose go so far into the air, I've seen it. I'll give you the example of that site. I was having a conversation with a bureaucrat who works in the police force, and I'm having a conversation with him, and I'm dressed like I barely belong in a political arena, conference, whatever. And I've got a shirt and a tie. I don't have a suit jacket. I got some nice pants, but they're, low end. Again, being broke sucks. Hey, I want to dress nice. Well, guess what? You'll be able to dress for what you can afford and what your sense of style is. And at that point, it was definitely garbage, at least in the terms of... I got a job interview where the guy looked at me and was just like, let's get this over with. I've got other people to interview. For those of you who are like, you've never faced discrimination. Whoa, don't fucking say shit like that. You're stupid. But you don't know me and you're just making assumptions. So, again, do I ban people like that? Or do I enlighten and inform them? I'll take the second option versus the first every fucking time. But the ability to petition the government for a redress of grievances is quite simple. If you have a problem with what the government is saying and you need to talk to it, you should be able to, without question. What is the problem? What are the issues? What can happen? Those are the questions. Not, oh, we don't want to handle or deal with you. That's you've got to be able to talk to your government and tell them they're fucking up. And you've got to be able to get together and tell the government they're fucking up. And if you are unable to do that, then guess what's going to happen? Totalitarianism, authoritarianism, tyrannical regime. Oh my God. We've got to keep the First Amendment. We got to keep it righteous. We got to keep it righteous. We got to keep it right. Now, I know a number of you have probably used the yelling fire in a theater analogy. You can't say that. Actually, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You could run into a building and scream, fire, 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 get out, and be fake and fraudulent and be lying. You can do it. But here's where the problem comes in. If you create a panic for no reason and people get hurt and die, you, the creator of that panic, that incited shit, that's where the problem is. Because you're responsible. If you lied and you created the malfunction in society where everybody goes apeshit, and it ends up being a completely bogus thing, you are responsible for the destruction and actions of the people that operated off of your falsely created issue. It's like when the media was running with the narrative that it's okay to punch a Nazi. And it was pushing people to punch Nazis. And it was also labeling everybody as a Nazi. Oh, I've been called Hitler. By someone who had absolutely no fucking clue who Hitler is or what Hitler did, beyond sending people to the showers. I'll tell you about this one real quick. Okay, I was babysitting. 2 kids. Mom was there to interview me, watch me do my thing. I need money. I'm broke. I ain't got shit. And what happened was 2 girls, I think 8 and 6 or something along those lines. They were young, but they weren't like baby, toddler. They were functional kids. They were capable of thinking and talking a lot. Well, my dad cooked lunch for them, made lunch for them, and they didn't want to eat it. And in a lesson to teach respect for those who do something positive for you, after they did not want to eat what was eaten for them, even though they were hungry. I don't want to eat that. I don't want to eat that. It's like, oh, really? Okay, well, since you want to be disrespectful in my home to the person that made you this food, you are grounded. I want both of you over on that couch. You're to watch that TV, and you're not to say anything, because what's come out of your mouth already has been proven offensive, disrespectful, and stupid. So you will learn respect. And so they sit on the couch, and they keep talking. And I'm like, hey, you keep talking, I'm going to elevate the punishment. Oh, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to do anything. Because, of course, mom's there, and they think mom's going to protect them from consequences. So I'm like, oh, really? Okay. You, that corner. You, that corner. I don't want to hear another word out of either one of you for half an hour. Every word that you say will be an extra 15 minutes in that corner. What? I can't believe you. That's 45. This is so wrong. This is so screwed up. You're up to an hour. You want to keep talking? You want to keep talking? Another 15 minutes is coming right at you. So they were both in their corner for their corners. They weren't in one corner, one over there, one over there. And about an hour 15, hour and a half of silence that came out of their corners. They had tasted discipline. They had tasted don't fucking teach or don't fucking give people disrespect when they give you respect. Mom looked at me and called me Hitler. And I looked at her and I'm like, well, number one, I'm not sending him to the showers or loading him into a train car. All I'm doing is providing discipline. And I got called Hitler for it. Which again proves another one of my theories that, you know, the devouring mother is the reason why we have a lot of shitbags in this country. People too weak to provide discipline. Again, I've been called a lot of things in life by people who would be put in prison if we were to go equally on the speech code route. But a person who was unaware of facts and intelligence and common sense looked at discipline as if I'm murdering their children. And it's like, no, I'm teaching your children something that you obviously have failed to do. If I was not allowed freedom of speech, I could not do, say, or be a disciplinarian. Because obviously I would be hurting somebody's feelings. I would be stifling the growth of the child. No, I'm not. I'm actually teaching that child to grow. Think of others almost as much as you think of yourself. Maybe a little bit less, or a lot less, but at least try to think of somebody else besides yourself. That was the point of that exercise. Again, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Your religion is you. Unless you're murdering people or fucking people up, you shouldn't be. You should be able to do whatever you want in your religion. Or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Again, the ability to speak freely is a fundamental necessity of life. Because if you're unable to speak your mind, there are things that will start creeping up like hatred, fear, loathing, rage. Because when you realize that you're not allowed to say the truth and people get offended, can't hold themselves accountable, and eventually just decide to be a tyrannical nightmare, that creates problems. Creates a lot of problems. For you, for your mental health, because if nothing you say is listened to or taken seriously, you begin to realize that the people in front of you don't really give a shit about you, and you need to walk away at some point. But if you're not allowed to walk away, or they make it apparent that they can say all the horrible shit about you that they want, but you're not allowed to say anything about them, guess how that's going to go. Yeah. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. And again, do it peaceably, not stupidly or violent. If you want to protest something, people have to be on your side to accept your protest and want to go along with you. So if you're going to do stupid shit while you're protesting, you're going to turn your audiences off. They're not going to support you, even if your cause is just. Even if your cause is just, they will not support you because you've got some people in your protest group who are causing problems, a.k.a. looters, thieves, shitbags. And yes, our government does insert people into protests so they can create seeds of doubt within the audiences, especially if that protest has legs. Like, that's not true. Go fucking get informed. Okay? Okay? Agent provocateurs. Okay? January 6th had agent provocateurs that worked for the government to create problems. There was the one guy who wanted people to go into the Capitol to destroy things. He was on tape, and everybody said, "Fed, Fed, Fed." He was barely punished. Yet, the people who did do stupid shit were punished, and a lot of them heavily. Way out of disproportionately. And some of you leftists are like, no, they weren't. Somebody died. Go look up that information and dispel that bullshit. Yes, somebody did die, but what was it? They had a heart attack or something along those lines well after the protest. Again, peaceably protest. Peaceably protest. For all of you who are like, it was an insurrection. How do a bunch of gun nuts come to an insurrection with no guns? They were peaceably protesting, but like any group of people, there are going to be bad apples. And if you're not vigilant against those bad apples, they will ruin your protest for you and get you characterized as a bunch of terrorists. You've got to police your own, kids. You got to police your own. Peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Again, if you're not allowed to talk to your government and tell it it's doing wrong, and, well, you've got a few thousand or 100,000 or millions behind you, if you're not allowed to petition the government to fix its fuck-ups, what's the point of the government for the people, by the people, of the people, for the people, by the people? Whichever way you want to go, whichever order you need. To petition the government for a redress of grievances. Yes, you need to be able to. The government is not always right, just like you. But your need to be right and to have things enforced, if you were given power, needs to be addressed. And if you fuck up, there needs to be a way for them, those affected by your fuck-ups as a government official, You need to be able to solve that. And if the government is not allowing itself to take you seriously, then chances are you've got a bad government ran by bad people. It might not even be a bad government. It just might be a government that's ran by shitbags. Sorry. Again, I'll say this all day, every day. I will scream it at the top of my motherfucking lungs. Humans are not perfect. You should not believe all women. All men are not traditional. All of these wonderful little complaints that we all have about the world and the human race and everything else can come true and do come true. That is why you need a First Amendment, our First Amendment, and you need to have people who are willing to enforce it, which means telling the government to fuck off when it starts doing simple, stupid shit. I brought up the FCC earlier because most of that came from early era Karens and whatever male name you want to use, except for Kevin, because he was cool. He was my stepfather at one point in time. Yeah. I know it's hard to hear some of the stupid shit that comes out of people's mouths. I know it's hard to tolerate the government when it starts doing tyrannical shit, or saying tyrannical shit, or passing tyrannical shit. I know. But you, the citizen, have an obligation to stand up, gather the troops, the other citizens who agree with you, and say, hey, shit's fucked up. We don't like this. This needs to be changed. If you do not have the ability to do that, you will fall into a tyrannical state, much like what Britain is becoming, for whatever reason. Okay? Whether they're trying to destroy their own government from within. We see that happening in this country. You know, government operatives, politicians, bureaucrats tearing things apart because they don't like what they see and they want to recreate the system in their own warped image. I will say this all day, every day. The First Amendment is an absolute necessity. Is it an absolute thing? Yes. All the people who create contrived fucking obfuscations and deflections to try to make the First Amendment into whatever they want to interpret it as is a load of crap. Okay? Speech codes, wrong. People support them? Hell yes they do, because they don't want to be offended. But if you want to turn this into a prison state, go ahead. Get rid of the First Amendment. You'll enjoy the first time the government turns its guns on you for saying something that it doesn't like. And then you'll be begging and screaming for the First Amendment to come back. But by that point, it's too fucking late. You've already, by going for speech codes, by thinking the First Amendment should only apply to you, you are part of the fucking problem. You don't have humility. You don't understand that you can be just as fucking retarded as the rest of the species can. That's what I have to say. That's what I have to think. Support the First Amendment. Don't allow government to become tyrannical. Stand up for yourself and exercise your ability to speak your mind. Be as intelligent, be as informed, be as enlightened as you can. You're going to say some stupid shit. You're going to say things that people don't agree with. TFB. Too fucking bad. To the people who are offended, fuck you. To the people who are not offended or are sitting there going, he's right. Yeah, fuck you too. I want to test that First Amendment shit. I really do. Auditors, they're keeping it real. They're showing you what your government and what your government officials do when they get too full of shit themselves. Okay? Again, go out and get informed. Go out and become knowledgeable. Learn. Think for yourself. Do not spew indoctrination. Question. Judge. Figure it out. Think it through. Ask questions. These are your fundamental rights, and you need to exercise them, because we cannot have an enlightened society if everybody wants to remain fucking retarded. Plenty of information out there for you to get educated and enlightened on. There's no reason for you to be a stagnant cunt. And that's all I have to say. That's the First Amendment, baby. Enjoy and have a good one, and thank you for showing up at my podcast. Peace and love. Enjoy.